Hello and welcome, I'm Francesca, and in this event, dedicated to microplastics, I want to talk about some news and curiosities concerning this broad topic. Let's start by reviewing what are microplastics. They refers to small particles of plastic material generally smaller than 1 mm down to the micrometric level. Microplastic pollution caused by very small waste that infiltrates the environment and food is considered a threat to the ecosystem and human health. We have a lot of news, curiosities about this kind of reality. But the question is, what is happening? Let's see it together. So let's start with an example. Health. The alarm is growing. For their analysis, the British researchers focused in particular on those that are comparable to the concentrations found today in nature, and that we humans take in many different ways, starting with food, in particular fish and seafood, but also common table salt, and drinks. What emerged? This comparison revealed that, at the concentrations to which we are regularly exposed, microplastics have deleterious, even permanent, effects on human cells. They can damage their walls, cause allergic reactions, and even kill them. What to do? Now that we know the problem better, the next step will be to try to mitigate it by identifying the foods and drinks with the highest average concentration of microplastics, and therefore the most dangerous. But according to Evangelos Danopoulos, first author of the study, the long-term solution is only one: to eliminate plastic waste and its dispersion into the environment. Let's go forward with another news really wow, and enter the world of animals. It is not pollen. We find it in food, in seas and oceans, even in our feces, and now, according to what we read in a study published in Science of the Total Environment, even on an insect that already has several other problems, and that if he could he would gladly avoid having to worry about this too. Let's talk about bees. Both domestic and wild bees are increasingly covered not with pollen, but with microplastics. But what damages our animals? Hooks, balloons and fishing nets. Plastic bags are the #1 cause of death. If accidentally ingested by an animal, they can cause intestinal blockages, and are particularly lethal to cetaceans. And sea turtles. Fishing-related waste, on the other hand, is fatal to larger animals, especially seals and sea lions, which seem almost immune to the charm of plastic bags. Finally, balloons and rubber objects are a scourge for small fauna. In particular, birds are at risk of death caused by accidental ingestion of pieces of rubber. And news about even the little children. When you drink from a plastic bottle or eat from a microwave container, there is a high probability that you are using a polypropylene container, a material designed to be safe, suitable for many applications, including food containers that require high-temperature water or microwaves to prepare. E-bottles are also mostly made of polypropylene. These are usually rigid bottles, which do not release materials when they are sterilized with hot water or shaken for the preparation of baby food. But recent research shows that this is not the case. The use of polypropylene bottles exposes children to an average of 1 million microplastic particles per day. A decidedly surprising number, both for the volume involved, and because previous studies stated that adults and children in industrialized countries are exposed to quantities of microplastic particles of about 211,000 units per year, taken with eating, drinking and breathing. Two quantities not even remotely comparable. Have you ever played with Lego? Legos are indestructible bricks, as anyone who has ever put a foot on them, with or without a shoe, can confirm. But what exactly do we mean when we say indestructible ? This question was answered by a study conducted by the University of Plymouth, England, which scoured the beaches of Cornwall in search of old Lego pieces. The choice of Cornwall is not accidental. Over the past decade, volunteer organizations in the area have worked to clean up the beaches of a veritable invasion of thousands of pieces of plastic, including Lego bricks dating back to the 1970s and 1980s. How they got there is not difficult to imagine, and it is just as easy to understand why they represent a problem. The Plymouth team, led by Andrew Turner, then took 50 samples of beached Lego bricks, and weighed, dated and compared them with pieces from the same period but never came out of their box. Let's go now to finally look at a good news. According to the United Nations, 300 million tons of plastic end up in landfills every year. To solve the problem in a definitive way, the only solution seems to be to drastically reduce its use, but its versatility and very low production costs make this path, in fact, not very followed. And so while researchers around the world have been working for years to develop a material that is comparable to plastic from an industrial and economic point of view, and at the same time eco-sustainable, other scientists are thinking about how to reuse the mountains of synthetic waste that we produce every day. Plastic fuel. Hongfei Lin and the Washington State University recently developed an innovative process that turns plastics into jet fuel. The researchers exploited a long-known process, pyrolysis, which involves heating the plastic to a high temperature, between 300 and 900 degrees Celsius, in an oxygen-free environment. Under these conditions, plastic breaks down into various substances, and with the addition of appropriate chemicals it is possible to obtain new products, such as fuels, lubricants and combustible gases. Scientists focused on polyethylene, and tried to treat it, prior to pyrolysis, with various solvents until they discovered that N-hexane, another petroleum derivative, is what it offers the highest returns at the end of the reaction. If, on the other hand, you want to obtain high-quality lubricants, it is better to enrich the process with a different solvent, methylcyclohexane. I hope this little talk has been interesting and stimulating for our minds. See you soon.